want to talk about a big controversy today. That's the subject about time. Did you know that China is one of the biggest landmass in the world and yet it only shares one time zone? Now, one of the most important components in metaphysics is time. How can then the entire country then uses just one time zone to plot all the charts? This is the big question. Because most of the time people ask this question, should I use the local time? Should I use Beijing time? Should I rectify to daylight saving time? So on and so forth. So which time is the correct time? Some of them will use the actual time itself down to the actual position that they are geographically in order to plot a chart. Some people go to great extent to calculate the exact position of birth in order to find the so-called accurate time. So the question now would be, which will be the correct chart to use to plot, let's say, your destiny chart or even a Feng Shui chart? Because as you know, in metaphysics, in Qimendunjia, in Bazi astrology, in Feng Shui, the time is an extremely important component when it comes to getting the so-called correct chart. Now, then the question would be whether or not you're following the subject of affinity or you want to follow the subject of reality. You see, there are two approaches to this, and various practitioners or various masters have their views on the correct application of the charts to use. In my personal view, I use whatever time that is local, including the time that has already been adjusted. That's my personal choice of using the time. Now, then again, another school of thought would be that, hey, you know, this is not the real time. It has to be the exact position in order to plot the chart because otherwise it's inaccurate. Then there's a whole school that actually follows this thought. So they will actually find the accurate positioning of the earth and the sun, so on and so forth, and find the real solar time for the location that they are plotting the chart in. Okay, so there's one school. I call these guys the scientific school. Now, I believe that we are in the industry of metaphysics and the concept of affinity and synchronicity is extremely important. And so I use whatever time that is given because the person that is the subject of the discourse is not the one choosing what time it is. For me, time is just a reference point. In my experience, we live in Malaysia and I do my practice in Malaysia, and Malaysia is separated between East and West Peninsula. And by right, we should be 2 hours apart. But we are unified as one country and we follow one time zone. Now, I have done charts for people who are born in both East and West Peninsula, and I use the local time. And for me, it has been extremely accurate and it is functional and effective. Now, not to say that by adjusting it, it could be even more effective or it could be wrong. It's just that sometimes you need a reference point to make decisions. And I find that the time that is given to you by affinity is the most accurate as a reference point. And therefore, I've also practiced the same principle where the countries that practice daylight saving time. Now, I do not subtract or add back the daylight saving time. If the chart has already added the daylight saving time, I will use it as it is for the Qimeng chart or Feng Shui chart or destiny chart. And in my 19 years of practice in this field, I find it extremely effective. I didn't say that this method is right, but you know, in life, you don't have to always be right to be effective.